So we got a little bit of barbershop kind of sounding music this morning to help us with our 4th of July preparations. And how great, Jenny would be so pleased to know in her absence that we've had such great music. Maybe Jenny should vacation more often.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, the choir says no. But what a joy it is to know that our music director can go on vacation. Lots of people from the choir are on vacation or visiting, and we still have excellent music. Yes. Thank you. Yes. I love it. And thank you for last week, too. Last week was wonderful. So, Kirk and I enjoyed a week ago, last Saturday, a week ago, we enjoyed an evening out in the home of a very prominent member of our church, Carol Anderson, and her wife, Deb. And what a wonderful evening it was. We had never been to their home before. Let me tell you, Carol is quite the cook. Oh, Lord have mercy. She made zucchini stacked with some kind of special cheese. Who knows what it was? Kirk knows all about it. He can tell you. And on a bed of pasta and a wonderful sauce. Adele made amazing bread. Oh my goodness, it was amazing. We found ourselves leaving their house with a loaf of bread that we had nibbled on for the entire week. It was unbelievably wonderful. And of course, you know, we all shared a lot of really good wine together. And what a treat it was. Carol and Dell introduced us to all of their family that lives with them in the country. Many animals, some that live outside and some that lived inside. And what a joy it was to be able to not only greet their pets, but to also love up on them as we shared the evening together. And we got to hear stories of how they take care of it. Is it 5 acres or 7? 8? Lord have mercy. So how they take care of their 8 acres of land. Oh my goodness, the joy that they had in it, that they shared with us as in the ways that they take care of their property. I said to Dale, my word, who does the mowing? And she described that Carol has some kind of mower. Who knows what it is? I don't understand that stuff. But that she gets to ride it. That's what I know, right? And one of them follows along to do the edging, and I'm not sure how that goes either. But we're grateful for that. It was wonderful to hear and to see the joy that they had also in sharing with us their home. Wonderful. And then we heard lots of stories that were great. And one of them that I thought was really interesting, their driveway is rather long, and it's a gravel driveway. And they shared with us that they order a lot of supplies and things for their pets online. And so they said it's really interesting to see UPS kind of maneuver the gravel driveway, especially in the winter. And they shared how they sometimes have to go out to help the UPS truck and other delivery trucks turn around. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, oh, I'm so glad I live in the fan. Kirk and I never have to do that, although we order a lot of things on Amazon.com. And then we heard other stories about the winter. And what really hit me was Dale especially told a story about what happens when they get lots of snow. And then she said, and then we had a hurricane. And when the hurricane hit, we had outages of all kinds. And you could hear her voice completely change as she shared with us what it was like to not be able to have power, sometimes days at a time. What it was like to not be able to have water. And I was sitting there just amazed. And then Dale said, you know, it's really hard when the things that help you with your everyday living are taken away from you in a flash. And I thought, wow. And then she used these words. It's like you're out of control and there's little you can do about it. And then Carol said, well, we did buy a generator. And I was so moved by that. Because each and every one of us, on one level or another, experience the out-of-controlness of life. Things that happen within a flash of a second, right? Be it the loss of power, be it the loss of the ability to have simple things, everyday things like water, or perhaps the death of a loved one, or perhaps a diagnosis that you weren't expecting, or perhaps a crash, an automobile crash. You get the idea. And when that happens to us and we realize that we're out of control, it can be very unsettling. Right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Those experiences are not easy, but they are a part of everyday living. Each one of us sometimes goes through that. Now, the joy of that is we're never alone. Right? We have a congregation that we can reach out to. People that love us no matter what. Mostly. People that remind us that God is with us, and what a joy that is. But it still sometimes doesn't take away the anxiety that we experience. I think this sacred text that we heard this morning, Jesus' very stern words, the disciples saying about the Samaritans, because they wouldn't welcome Jesus. And the reason they didn't welcome Jesus is because they knew that Jesus was not going to be staying there long. He was really only going there to rest, to lay his head, to rest, so that he could further his journey to Jerusalem. Right? And so they copped an attitude. Well, okay, Jesus, you only want a place to sleep? Well, what about having conversations with us? What about those of us that may need a healing? What about those of us that may need something extraordinarily different from you? And so they knew that they were not going to get that. They had expectations of Jesus that would not be realized. And so they didn't want anything to do with him or his journey to Jerusalem. And so the disciples said, well, let's just put down fire from heaven and destroy them. And Jesus says, have you bumped your head? We're not going to be doing that. Right? And to us that sounds harsh, that the disciples would even say that. But in reality, the Jews and the Samaritans did not get along. So in their context, it made sense. But even with that, Jesus said, we will not bring them home. Right? How many times, when you are feeling out of control or disappointed, or your expectations on someone didn't come true, have you felt like just acting out in a way that brought harm? Maybe it's not physical harm, but it's emotional harm. Maybe it's the thought that, well, I'm just going to write that person out of my life. And that's just as harmful. Right? And Jesus said, no, we will not do that. Jesus says to us, no, we will not do that. Let's work it out. So Jesus is telling the disciples and others along, come and follow me. And we learn about those who had other plans. Not only did the disciples' plans not turn out to be the way they thought it would be from the reaction of the Samaritans, Jesus, as he's calling people, did you get what they said? Come and follow me. I will, but can I please bury my Father first? And what does Jesus say? That let the dead bury the dead. Right? And then another person, when Jesus said, come and follow me, they said, I will, but can you please just let me say goodbye to people? Makes sense that we would bury somebody with dignity the same way that we honored their relationship when they were alive. Doesn't it make sense? And doesn't it make sense that we would say goodbye to those we love, those that we care about? But Jesus says, no, the need is immediate. Come and follow me now. Why? Because Jesus knew he was on his way to Jerusalem. And what would happen there? Jesus knew he had to get to Jerusalem because of the events that would bring each and every one of us life in a different way. Jesus was preparing yet in another way for his crucifixion, but yet also that he would come and be raised again. And so Jesus was relentless of going to Jerusalem. And he knew that people needed what he would bring to life. in getting there. It's as if Jesus said, no, your out of controlness is just a fantasy. Because when we get out of control the most is when we think that we can control life. When we think that we have power of the way our life is going to turn out. And I would say to you that that is the illusion. Because none of us have the power to know how our life journey is going to be. We fool ourselves if we think that we can put into place everything that we need to be successful in life, because things like snowfall, huge snowstorms happen. Things like the loss of power happen. Things like illness happen. Things like death happens. And so we soon realize Jesus was right. We aren't in control. And I think that Jesus' relentless journey to Jerusalem is because he knew that there were going to be things that we were going to experience in our lives that we do not understand. And yet instead of inviting God into those experiences, what do? We try to control even more. It's an illusion of power. It's an illusion that we are in control. And so yet one more time, we are faced with the reality that we don't have to be in control. That Jesus is actually inviting us to surrender our control in a way that we will experience real life, in a way that we can expect the divine to be active within us in ways that we still cannot understand. If you would have told me that my life would be as grand as it is today, I would have told you you're a lie. Especially when I was coming out. Especially when I was leaving my family. Especially when my children said they did not want a relationship with me simply because I'm a gay person. I don't understand that. But what I do understand is that God desires so much to let us know that God enters our sense of controlness, our being out of control, in ways that we will know within the pit of our stomach that we are loved by a God who always celebrates us, no matter where our lives are. Perhaps living a life of faith is surrendering control enough to believe that because of Jesus going to Jerusalem, that God desires to remind us that God will come into our lives in ways that God reaches down and grabs hold of us and holds on in ways that remind us that we are loved, that challenges us and brings us to a place of healing. When I was experiencing all those terrible things in my life, I never imagined that my life would be what it is today. And there were times that I was angry at God. How dare you do this to me? Bring this much pain on people that I love. And yet at the same time, as I hear about my children, as I hear about other people coming out, I know that my story helps people because I know what it's like to hurt. I know what it's like to come out. I know what it's like to be rejected. But I know what it's like to be loved by a God who says that I am never, ever separated by the love of God. And why is that? Because Jesus' journey to Jerusalem was unwavering. Jesus did not go to Jerusalem just for me. Jesus went to Jerusalem for all of us. Jesus went to Jerusalem with us in mind. That's what this story is about. And so as God calls us to follow Jesus, it's not as if we will have to do some grand thing, because God says we are already grand. It's doing the things that we already do naturally that brings blessing to those around us. And yet I think we even question that. That we are people who are holy just the way we are. That in God's eyes, we are called the beloved of God. And God shows us that because Jesus went to Jerusalem. So this morning, what is it that you are trying to control? What is it in your life that God wants so desperately for you to surrender to the love of God as we know through Jesus? Is the Spirit of God working on you today? Or maybe through the week? Or maybe in the coming days? What is it? What is it? In your bulletin, there's a little piece of paper. Some of you said, oh Lord, the pastor's going to have us do something today with these little pieces of paper of his. On your piece of paper, I would ask you, what is it? What is it that God is calling you to do today? Is there something in your life that you're trying to control and hold on to? How is God wanting to let you know? Wanting to have you invite God into that situation? I'm not sure what it is for you, but you know. I invite you to write whatever it is on this paper. And one of our stations today is the God box. Will you give that situation to God this morning? And as you do, light a candle to remember that. This morning you will have opportunity to experience communion differently. The ushers will not be ushering you down this morning. Les and I will be at the altar to serve you. Reverend Cheryl and Arthur will be in the back of the sanctuary to serve you. And at the piano there will be a station where you can come with a friend and serve each other. Or you can come and serve yourself and have a moment with God at the piano. There is also, there will be prayer partners to do laying on of hands for those of you that need prayer. Will you dare utter whatever it is that you have? That John, Porch, and Mark will be able to pray for you, that you will have a new experience. And also there's a station on the back on this side. There's a big poster board that says, I am. What are you in God? What are you? Do you know that you are loved by God just the way you are? If so, write that down. Are you confused by God? Write that down. Do you know that you are fabulous? Write that down. But wouldn't it be wonderful to go back and share and to look at the I amness of God in each and every one of us? So this morning, we will have opportunity to have the stations flow. Get what you need. Maybe you just need a time to sit and share with the person sitting next to you. If that's what you need this morning, get that. So as we sing, Megan will lead us, sing. If you, whatever else you need, visit the stations. So let's come now and let's share the communion of the week so that all will be ready. I invite you now to go into the communion in your bulletin. Blessed people of God, through the life and ministry of Jesus, God forgives us, God heals us, and showers us with gifts of love, hope, and grace, just the way we are, and welcomes us to this feast of God's transforming gifts of life and love.
We are transformed and hear God saying to us, come, taste and see.
Jesus Christ, you invite all people to your open table.
You make us your people, a beloved community. You restore the joy of our relationship with God, even in the midst of loneliness, despair, and degradation.
We are each unique, and we all belong, a priesthood of all believers, baptized and filled with your Holy Spirit. You empower us to be your healing presence in a hurting world.
We expect to see your reign on earth as it is in heaven, as we work toward a world where everyone has enough. War cease and all creation lives in harmony.
Redeeming God revealed to us in many ways, we celebrate your transforming love given for all people. As we remember how on the night before he died, Jesus took bread. Jesus gave thanks for the bread, and then he broke it and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take, eat, this is my body, given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." After supper, Jesus took the cup. When he had given thanks for the cup, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink this, all of you. This is my love poured out for you and for everyone. Whenever you drink it, do this in remembrance of me." Let us proclaim the mystery and the victory of our faith. Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ is here, Christ will come again. Alleluia.
And in preparation for sharing this meal and this mystery, let us rise as we are able, as we say together the prayer that Jesus taught us to pray. Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And now, whatever you need from God this morning, go and get it. Amen.